themselves the elite.
If not us, who?
A little bit of the bubbly.
And if not now, when?
We don't care about race or gender or sex or religion. If you're an elite athlete, we want you.
This is an official declaration of war.
Change the world.
We are going to change the whole universe! This is what you call a paradigm shift.
This is a family! This is a revolution! We can never stop!
All elite wrestling.
For the 37th time, it's Friday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for the next chapter of the only professional wrestling podcast that is changing the world every week. This is Seeing the Elite, an AEW podcast. I am your host, Bryce Reed. I am joined by my friend, my co-host, my tag team partner, Mr. Jonathan Davis.
What's up, dude?
If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Jonathan and I are two friends, fans, lovers of professional wrestling who are here every single Friday morning with all the latest news from All Elite Wrestling, thanks to our EVP, Chris Genro, and our supporters on Patreon. Our Patreon is on fire. For those of you who have joined us, you know that it's the one place to go deeper, to help the show. If you love what we do here, a pay-what-you-want subscription service that you can use to help us make the show better and better every single week, to figuratively be the wind beneath our wings. Subscribers get a ton of awesome perks within our community, as well as bonus episodes, access to show notes, and getting to watch us record the show live. We hope that you'll consider joining our inner circle, patreon.com/Seeing the Elite. This is not a sports entertainment show. It's an entertaining sports show supported by fans like you from all over the world on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite, Twitter @Seeing the Elite. If you really want to be part of the crew, if you really want to be in with our boys, every week, fans from all over the world watching AEW together, talking about the shows, having a great time. tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. We'll get you an invite to our Discord server. That's tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. We've had some new friends over there. Welcome. Thank you for being a part of our awesome community. And thank you to our champ, Equals Scorpion 1, for bringing the pain to everybody over the last few weeks. And we're going to see who's able to take him on at the next pay-per-view, which we still don't know the name of, which is strange. I think this is the first time we've gone this long without knowing what's happening next.
Yeah, but Tony said in the post-scrum for Full Gear that they were just not ready to release it yet.
Yeah.
And that's fair. They want to like or do some organic building and let people know, like, yeah, it's going to be 3 months. Let's not... You don't have to know what it is right now because it's plenty of time to get there. We got a long way to go.
It's
not the 3-week journey.
It's kind of a good thing because they can set a precedent here. It's, you know, the what's going to happen next was kind of an albatross in the same way the ratings were, which we'll talk about later, where, you know, now it's expected every time we're going to know what the next pay-per-view is at the next pay-per-view. Now they're sort of breaking that pattern early, and they're able to sort of reveal what the next pay-per-view is when it makes the most sense. And the hope is that while they may not have initially wanted to wait this long, that now that they do have to wait, they're waiting for a really cool moment to reveal it, right?
Yeah, I know there's been like a couple trademarks that have been released.
Yeah, we're going to talk about those in just a moment.
Not the Bash at the Beach one, because cool your jets, people. It's okay. Cody owns that.
JD on the time codes, as always, if you're looking for something specific. But we're going to start, as we always do, with a quote. It's not going to be a Jim Cornette quote, so don't worry about it.
What? Come on, man. That was gold.
Quote, Cody went on a trademark binge one night, and he texted me the next day like, Conrad and I were up all night trademarking stuff, and I was like, what? okay. One of the things that came out of it was Bash at the Beach, lo and behold. So when he said that, we thought of a way that we could use it at some point. End quote. That's Tony Khan speaking there in an interview. And we're going to, I guess this is the point to jump in and talk about this Bash at the Beach thing, which broke over the week.
Fucked up all my formatting and my templates. Oh, we're going to do news early, man. Fucking bullshit.
Now you actually have to pay attention and do time codes.
Yeah, this is bullshit. Making me do work. All you fucking Swedes making me do work of deciphering these goddamn addresses.
Please, if you come from a country that's not the United States, please join our Patreon so that Jonathan will have to mail you things. Because
also, had to go online and Google like how to do international postage because you can't just put one stamp on there.
No, you got to do like a bunch, right?
You got to do 3, man, and then you're overpaying for postage because it's like a normal stamp is 49 cents.
Right.
An international postage stamp, because you can buy those, is $1.15. It's like, the fuck?
Oh, man. I love it. AEW Bash at the Beach 9-day special to kick off on 1/15 episode of AEW Dynamite. 9 days seems...
Jesus Christ. Someone's going to die.
This comes to us from Matt Boone at eWrestling.com. It looks like the old, quote, Bash at the Beach, end quote, show theme will be returning in All Elite Wrestling as a 9-day, quote, Bash at the Beach fan extravaganza, end quote. Has been announced for AEW for January 2020. What a great time to have a Bash at the Beach, January.
Well, normally true, but like when you think about like locations that they're doing,
sure,
it's pretty good because the Miami stop, Miami's always warm, and then 7-ish days in the Bahamas. Fuck yeah.
It's attractive for that alone, right?
Yeah. I do feel in my heart for the guys who I know will do all 9 days because, man, you are going to do some damage to your body.
AEW today announced Bash at the Beach, an unprecedented 9-day experience for super fans that features 2 Dynamite shows, a cruise on board Chris Jericho's tricked out party ship, and non-stop entertainment between. The adventure begins on Wednesday, January 15th, when AEW Dynamite takes over the Watsco Center at the University of Miami for a Bash at the Beach themed episode, and continues with Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea sailing round trip from Miami to Nassau, Bahamas on January 20th through the 24th. High-octane bouts with the biggest names from AEW will be filmed from Jericho's sold-out Norwegian Pearl ship, including the January 22nd episode of Dynamite on TNT. The history-making event will be bubbling with exclusive opportunities to meet AEW's star-studded roster, as well as non-stop wrestling, rock and roll, live podcast, paranormal explorations, talent-hosted activities, autograph sessions, parties, and more. Quote, AEW's Bash at the Beach events will deliver 9 unforgettable days of wrestling and much more from the hottest company in the business today, unquote, said Chris Jericho. Quote, thousands of the friends of Jericho on board the sold-out Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea.
The friends of Jericho, everyone who paid me $600.
will have the experience of their lives. And now millions more will be able to watch AEW Dynamite along with us as we break out the bubbly together from Miami to the Bahamas, end quote. Tickets for the January 15th Bash at the Beach show in Miami go on sale this Friday, November 22nd. That's today as you're listening to this at noon Eastern time. Tickets for the show will be available for purchase exclusively from www.aewtix.com. For your chance to join the party at sea, sign up for the wait list at chrisjerichocruise.com.
Dude, if you're trying to get tickets to this cruise, it's not that last minute, but
it's pretty last minute.
It's still pretty last minute.
It's been sold out for a while, and good on Jericho. I mean, this thing kind of sold out on his own Last year, he did bring in a bunch of, people to help sell it out, this Rock and Wrestling Cruise. This looks as though it's going to be something that's tied to AEW, at least for the next 3 years that he's got a contract, although I believe he'll continue after that. At least at this point, we don't know what's coming in the future. So the fact that this is being tied into an AEW thing is pretty wild, I think, and a good move for them. If they're getting a taste off the cruise, but
they won't be getting a taste off. Not this year. They won't be getting a taste off the cruise. Next year, it's more likely because they can. So this is what I've heard from other performers that do cruises, because in Practical Jokers they do a cruise.
Right.
So Quinn talked about it a little bit on Tell 'em Steve Dave a couple months ago.
Right.
They redo those contracts yearly because they look at how your cruise did and then reevaluate if you need a bigger ship. And then they try to keep you the rates for people wanting to go on the cruise the same while getting you a bigger ship and so on. So I would be surprised if they get any of the money off this one. This kind of just this is just a good idea on all counts. It's pretty damn neat what they're doing. And if this becomes an annual Bash at the Beach kind of thing, that's cool too. And depending on how this one goes, they can expand upon it for next year.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's really smart. I think it's really smart for the same reason, doing Double or Nothing Memorial Day weekend in Las Vegas. It's really easy for people to justify, I should go and do this, because there are other reasons you would want to go and do it anyway, because it's Vegas, because it's Memorial Day weekend, but also,
or it's a cruise. There's a lot of people who do annual cruises.
Yeah. So I think it's great for them. It's great for Jericho. It's great cross promotion. If this becomes a thing, where the Wednesday before they leave on the cruise ship, they do something down near there, and then they have this sort of 9-day extravaganza thing. That's kind of a big deal, and almost kind of like sort of a big destination event for them, in the same way that WrestleMania plus Access is for WWE, right? Now
maybe this will take the place of StarCast.
No, Conrad is probably involved to a greater degree than you think. The thing that's kind of strange about it to me is that they're not doing it as a pay-per-view; they're doing it as TV.
Probably because it's going to be there. I don't know about the dates of the cruise, but I don't think it's over a weekend.
Sure.
So they're already going to tape delay it, and you don't want to tape delay a pay-per-view. That's the worst thing you could ever do.
Sure.
It would be interesting. The reason I would say that Conrad isn't involved is because of all the stuff that happened at StarCast 2 with him and Jericho.
Huh. Yeah, yeah, but he's so involved with those other guys. Like we said, the only reason they have Bash at the Beach is because Cody was working with Conrad to trademark stuff, right? So he's a part of their business, and he is probably always going to be. In other big trademarking news this week, I think it's important to note here that Cody supposedly secured the trademark for Dusty Rhodes, which is good that he is the owner of his father's name, at least for now, although he indicated that he might be going to court to fight for it.
I think he's going to be going to court on this one. Vince is not going to let that go.
Which is
fucking despicable.
Yeah, it's disgusting, quite frankly. And AEW appears to have also trademarked Blood and Guts, potentially as a pay-per-view name. They trademarked both the name and a logo from the looks of it, which I think is awesome. And, quote, the match beyond, end quote. Now, historians will note that this was a name given to the latter half of War Games. When they would do War Games in WCW, it would be War Games and the match beyond. War Games being the staggered entrance part of the match where people were coming in, and then the match beyond being what happened once everybody was in the ring. And so this looks as though that's what they're going to call their version of War Games, which is exciting that that's coming. We had speculated, since they're building this faction versus faction thing with the Elite, but it's nice to see that appears to be where they're going. Now, we don't know for sure, but there isn't really any other reason you would trademark the match beyond.
Well, it kind of plays into Cody trying to get a lot of his dad's trademarks.
Sure.
So that could be part of it. And I know we saw before AEW, when AEW was just getting started, we saw a lot of stuff being trademarked that it still hasn't been used.
That
was purely Cody just getting it.
But most of that was Cody.
Yeah.
This was AEW.
So it'll be interesting to see what turns out of that. But, Blood and Guts could be the next pay-per-view. I'm down with that name. I think it's dope. It could also be like a video game or something.
Sure, it could be anything. Right.
Same with the Match Beyond. When I first read that, I was like, that'd be a good name for like a documentary series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And had it not had that historical precedent, I might have gone in that direction too. It's kind of a smoking gun. That's what they used to call it on WCW, right? But we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing with it. Again, as we always, when we talk about trademarks on this show, it's always just sort of speculative. And we kind of mention it when it makes sense to and kind of don't when it doesn't. Because, again, like Jonathan noted, we don't know how they're going to use any of this shit. We can only kind of guess. Being the Elite number 180, this is supposed to be fun. The first scene is much funnier in execution than it is hearing me describe it. It's also way funnier.
We're never going to be able to give this segment its due.
It's also way funnier if you've seen Mind Freak before and know how fucking spot on this is for what that fucking show is. Nick and Cutler lament about Matt being stuck at home injured for Indianapolis. Nick says that it's weird to travel without Matt and suggests that they do something to lift their spirits. Cutler suggests that they gamble, but Nick says that they lost too much money in Baltimore. Nick then slaps...
Are there fucking casinos in Baltimore?
You don't have to go to a casino to gamble.
That's true, but like most times when you lost too much money, like you either took a bath on the show or you went to the casino.
Or maybe the racetrack. Maybe they went to the racetrack.
That's actually likely. There are racetracks up there. That's fair.
Right. I would think that would be what it was in reference to. Nick then slaps on his Chris Angel impression, which gets better and better every week, and says, let's do some magic. Nick snaps his fingers, and his shirt is now an open hoodie, and his hair is just free-flowing down his back. Nick has Cutler do a 360, and when he turns back around, only Nick's jacket is there on the ground. You then hear Nick's voice call, "Brandon, look up," which is... So many times on Mind Freak, that's like the hook, is him going, "Oh, look over here," and then you see him and he's doing some whack shit. Nick is up on this elevated platform above the yard, and then we cue to the Merch Freak theme. I thought this was really funny. Now you could see the edits and cuts too, but that's almost also a dig at Mind Freak because you can totally see it in that show.
Yeah,
too.
but like that, the cuts made it better.
Right. We then get the main titles and go directly into some travel footage that was fairly inconsequential. Now we get to the payoff from that weird Leva bit from last week. The text on the screen even says "last week" as we go to see Leva putting a mustache on the extra. She says, "Perfect." And the extra says, "No." He takes off the glasses. He tears off the mustache. He throws the books down. He says, "This librarian thing sucks. Stop trying to push it on everybody." And then he exits as Leva says that she misses Peter. I do not know why they chose to put the setup for this joke on one episode and the punchline on another.
I don't know, but I like it.
Do you?
No, I just hope to God this means that they'll stop this bullshit.
Oh, you like the finish to it.
Yeah, I like the ending, not the segment. The segment itself was fucking dumb.
I feel like it would have just been kind of a dumb, bad segment if they put it all on one episode. Stringing it out over 2 episodes, only 2 on the second episode say, "Oh, this happened last week directly after that other thing." It's so weird to me. Such a weird way to do it, and made the joke worse. I don't know why they did it.
They've been doing a lot of stuff with BTE, which is like, okay, cool. If you'd done this, if they were airing multiple episodes a week,
right,
would have been fine.
Yeah.
The way they're doing some of this stuff is like, this makes no fucking sense, guys.
What are
you doing?
We see some footage of Darby trying to do some skateboard tricks backstage, followed by some arena footage.
So funny thing, when they were coming out of Philly, Darby went to Bam's house to go skating, and he was posting videos and shit on Instagram. It was funny, dude. Just like to see him like kind of, nerding out, being able to go to Bam's house. It was funny. Which, did you know he's dating Priscilla Kelly?
Who, Darby Allin?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
We then get a second librarian bit. Peter Avalon approaches Justin Roberts to ask him a question.
This was funny.
And Justin gives him 45 seconds. Peter can't handle the pressure and sort of stammers until time runs out. And it turns out he was trying not to be introduced as the librarian anymore, but only as Pretty Peter Avalon. And Leva is happy that it didn't work. I did think that the joke was funny. I felt like it would have been funnier if it was 20 seconds.
Yeah, but I mean, if this is the Justin Roberts thing for the next few weeks, I'm good with this.
I like that.
It.
I do like that. Best Friends back on BTE Mailbag. Again, when they're on BTE Mailbag, not going to go through what was said. It was just awesome. And those guys are so, even when they're not like side-splittingly hilarious, they have this charm to them that it feels like hanging out with your friends. Like they feel like the kind of people that you just know, right? And it's awesome. It's so great. I really enjoyed it this week. But
I did too. Like the best part of it is like they're going through the whole thing, and like Orange Cassidy is trying to stay in character, and they keep breaking him, and it's so funny.
Next, we're backstage with the Bucks and Omega. Matt is writhing in pain on the ground while Kenny and Nick lounge on the couch. Kenny asks if Matt is all right, but Matt turns the question around, asks if Omega is all right. He says that Kenny hasn't been the same since they started AEW and asks if this Moxley thing is finally out of his system. Kenny says, quote, "You don't understand, man. I can beat him. I can prove to everyone that I can beat him. I can beat him at his own game," end quote. Matt tells Kenny to let it go, and Kenny starts babbling about a belt and stuff he's got to do, and then says, "Take care of yourselves, guys," and exits, which is ominous and weird. But Kenny's been ominous and weird for a while now.
Yeah.
Kenny walks by Hangman on his way out. Hangman also has something to say. Hangman says, quote, "I can't keep being the least successful member of the Elite. We're still cool. I'm just going to ride alone for a while," end quote. And then exits. Where Nick says just before the end of the episode, he says, "What the hell was that all about? What's going on around here? This is supposed to be fun." And we get a short montage of the Elite getting beat up or losing recently. And the final scene, we see Hangman return home and turn the picture of himself and the boys towards the wall, which presumably to whack off, right? Like that's what you do.
No, I meant it was more of that. I'm not part of these guys anymore. I don't want to look at it.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say because it was weird. If he was gonna whack off, he had a picture of his grandma above it.
Hey, don't.
And he left that one out in the room.
Hey, you don't know what he's into.
Okay.
He might like grandmas.
Yes. Okay. So he turns the photo around. The idea being that he's left the Elite as of this episode for a while, and I like that he left the Elite not in, it wasn't in a really pro wrestling-y way where he suddenly attacks someone and he's like, "I'm evil now," right? Like, no, he's just like, "Look, I don't want to be that other guy in the Elite," right? And I think that's a really cool and emotional reason to do it. And I applaud them for picking that as the theme here rather than having him attack someone, which would be the easy way. And it's the easy way because every fan in the world, including Jonathan and I, figured he would do it at some point, but that's not how they end up doing it.
It's never how we think it's going to go because we are clearly bad at this.
They broke him off from the Elite in a really interesting and mature way that says a lot about his character. and a lot about how he apparently felt as though he didn't really deserve to be where he was, and has some sort of imposter syndrome wrapped up in what he's doing. So that's the end of the episode from there. Kind of a cool episode this week, although it all really seemed in service of this one scene, and then the rest of it was kind of candid stuff. And I like the candid footage, but if it's gonna be more and more of that stuff, I don't know that it needs to be a weekly show of that shit.
Or us talking about it, because like this is like there was a 15-minute-ish show, maybe 20.
Right.
We really talked about 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah. AEW Dark number 7 from Nashville, Tennessee. What'd you think of Dark this week, Jonathan?
Meh. Matches were good. Dustin's not great on commentary. He's funny, but it wasn't great.
Yeah, it was tough. This week was all tag matches.
I enjoyed that portion of it. Mostly, like, it just felt like Dustin was lost too much because he was enjoying watching the wrestling and not commentating.
There have been people they have pulled on to commentary, like MJF, where you've been like, wow, this guy has an aptitude for this.
Yeah, and then there's other guys who are like, dude, you're watching the matches. You have to like talk about them too.
Yeah, and hey, it's hard. Like, commentary is a hard job. You and I've tried to do it before on certain things, and it's tough, man. That was my biggest takeaway with Dustin. I loved having him there. I like Dustin as a person and a personality performer.
He's very much a coach, not a commentator.
I mean, throughout these matches, it was just like, okay. Dustin either isn't adding to this or is just kind of slowing down Excalibur.
Yeah, because he would get Excalibur distracted.
Right. And I don't think it was a distinctly positive thing for the show. Best Friends versus Private Party opened the show. I thought the match was a lot of fun. These teams work together really well. I think it would really help me feel like here's like an issue I've had with Dynamite and Dark is I feel like these matches would feel like they mean more if we were seeing the rankings on screen before and after these matches, right?
Yeah, and I think that's something that we need to be iterating to Tony and AEW on social media. Tony, Cody, all the guys, tell them, like, hey, can you show the rankings because that's important? And I think that's something that they would take to heart, like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that.
Because they talk about the rankings all the time on commentary, and they're like, oh, I can't wait till you see the rankings or whatever. It would mean so much more if they showed me the rankings before the match. Here's what the rankings are. And then after the match, showed me the rankings again. And how they changed because of the match, right?
Right, but then the second part won't happen.
How do you mean?
I don't think they're going to show you the changes after a match.
Why not?
Because that shows that every match has the same amount of meaning. Like it's very similar to how college football works. Okay, I'm throwing out examples here, and I'm pulling them out of my ass. Alabama beats Georgia. They're both ranked 3rd and 4th. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily, Alabama's ranked 4th and Georgia's ranked 3rd. It doesn't necessarily mean that Georgia is going to go, they're going to swap, or that Georgia's going to go lower, because the quality of wins that Georgia has had has been better than the teams that Alabama has been playing.
Sure, but you know what those changes are going to be.
You don't. You never know.
They do, though.
They do.
Should.
They should, because this is all fucking fake. Yes.
Right.
But
so if they go after the match, they go, this team beat this team, but the quality of, like, they know all the math ahead of time because they know who's going to win the match.
Right. But it also goes into the point of they're basing a lot of these rankings off of college football. College football announces the new rankings every Monday morning.
And doesn't do it on the shows.
No, you do not see any change. You see speculations of how a team could fall, but the actual rankings are not released until Monday mornings.
That's very strange to me. I don't understand.
College football as a whole is a gigantic scam.
I don't understand at all why it wouldn't mathematically make sense to be like, well, this team beat this team and this team was this, so now.
So in college football,
they mentioned that on the commentary several times this week. They were like, oh, this person beat this person, so you have to imagine she's jumped her in the rankings, right? So.
In college football, no, it makes no goddamn sense. Just like the whole bowl system never made any goddamn sense. For AEW's and rankings, yes, they absolutely and should do that. But I understand why they are waiting until Fridays, because they are trying to build a cadence and a rhythm to this and show that rankings change on Fridays.
Yeah,
now,
I get that, but it would just mean so much more to me if I could see it on the show.
I agree. I agree. It would also make more of an impact if rankings changed Thursday morning.
Right. You know, like, it would mean so much more to me if they just took a second before the match and were like, okay, here's why Best Friends are fighting Private Party. Best Friends are at 5, Private Party are at 4.
And that's something that would be easy to do.
Yeah. With a decent graphics guy, which they have because they do graphics every week. So they just haven't implemented it yet. No, you know, a lot of it's new, and they know that they're going to reset soon in the new year. So
I think that's a lot of it is that right now you're in the rankings beta test.
Right.
And then come January, that's when they're going to start really focusing on this a lot more because they're really seeing how the crowd's reacting to it.
Anyway, these two teams have a great match. Orange Cassidy continues to have some great bits. The bit where he stopped Mark Quinn from jumping and then was like, "You can get up, Trent," and then Mark Quinn jumped on Trent. Anyway, it was great. I loved it. Trent pins Cassidy.
Yeah,
Cassidy. It's because I thought, I was like, did I write Orange Cassidy? No, his name is Cassidy. Out of a strong 0. An ad for the Black Friday sale at shopaew.com next time you hear us.
No, as you are listening to this right now, the sale is active.
Oh, is it?
It's 10 days.
Oh, that's
Friday,
why they were advertising it so early.
Yes, it goes from Friday. As you're listening to this show, the sale is active. It will go until the Monday after Thanksgiving. For people not in the U.S., 1 second while I pull up my handy-dandy calendar. That will be until... Wait, wrong month. December 2nd. December 2nd is when the sale ends. Probably midnight on the 1st. So, what fucking shirt do you want, asshole?
I'll talk to you very soon.
I'm going to buy that hoodie.
Remember that everything is 25% off at shopaew.com for that duration.
Some things are 40.
Yes. 25% off might help you actually mitigate the add-on for shipping from pro wrestling teams.
I believe if you spend over $100, you get free shipping. So, you know, this is the one time of the year where you really want to go a little bit buck wild on prowrestlingtees.com.
Yeah, if you were looking to load up, this isn't an ad for them. They don't sponsor us, but
they should.
But that's exciting if you're a fan. And shopaew.com, big sale all week long. Go and check that out. Chris Statlander and Big Swole versus Britt Baker and Riho. I thought this match was pretty boring.
I liked everyone but Britt.
Yeah, man. It felt a lot longer than it was to me personally, because when I was watching, I was like, man, this match is long. And then I went back and looked. I'm like, this is like a 15-minute match.
I felt the same way about the first match. Like, all these matches felt really long this week.
Yeah. And I don't know what that was. I mean, it's a 3-match show that lasts an hour.
Yeah,
like an hour, like a real hour, not 45 minutes.
I know what it is.
What?
Matches actually did go longer because the past few weeks we've had a good 10 to 15 minutes of full gear build.
Oh, okay. Yeah, true.
I think Big Swole looked great. Chris Statlander looked great. I hope they sign her. She's very, very impressive.
Chris Statlander impressed me.
Yeah, Britt. No, I'm not. She's going further and further in the bad category to me. The more matches that she has, and I think part of why this is so frustrating for me is that she's Adam Cole's girlfriend. She has a great resource right there.
Sure. I mean, he's a busy guy, but sure.
Sure, but before they started AEW, he was a less busy guy.
Baker, continues to be slow and sloppy, but we're going to talk about her later because she has a match on Dynamite as well.
Fair.
Riho continues to be, I think, difficult to work with, and people love Riho. I like Riho a whole lot, but I think there's an issue with her style.
It's the Joshi style as well as the language barrier.
No, but I think it's an issue with her style specifically. She's small, but she doesn't work on the same level that like Rey Mysterio does, right? Someone like him or even Darby's a good example too. They're small, but their offensive style is so sort of erratic and unpredictable that they can make the size not really matter. Riho is small, but she still gets into suplex struggles with like opponents who would logically toss her into the cheap seats.
That's
whereas
very...
Rey Mysterio, if he ever got into a suplex match with someone in a match, he just gets creamed because his character can't do that because he's small, right? She doesn't do that, and instead we get she gets into a suplex match with Big Swole, and Big Swole has to pretend that she can't lift this woman who is introduced as being 93 pounds. Right?
Yeah, fuck right off with that shit. I mean, this is like Rey Mysterio getting into a suplex contest with you, I could see him, standing his own. He's a fucking stout dude. Now, true. Back in the day, no. Agreed.
Right.
He was still like 115 pounds.
But I'm not saying with me. I'm saying if Rey Mysterio gets into a match with, say,
Randy Orton.
Right?
Randy Orton's going to toss his little ass across the damn ring.
Right. It doesn't make sense. Randy Orton's not going to start picking up Rey Mysterio and then go, oh, I can. He's too heavy because he's fucking Rey Mysterio. Right?
Yeah.
Instead, I think it's just because she developed her style in a place where she's not that much smaller than most of her opponents, and now she's in a place where she is definitely that much smaller than most of her opponents.
Yeah, I mean, most Joshi women are not very big. I mean, you would be surprised to see a 130-pound Joshi wrestler.
Yeah.
They're all very tiny. They're all very limber and athletic. They're not muscle builders like you see in American wrestling.
Right.
So yeah, that kind of stuff makes sense over there. Over here, where fucking Britt is easily 140 of muscle.
Yeah, Britt and Big Swole and Chris Statlander's.
She's a big girl.
Yeah.
She could whoop our asses. Yeah.
Right. She, just like filled out, just and large frame. And to have, Riho next to Chris Statlander looked like fucking Marco Stunt.
Yeah. It would be it's the same argument as her trying to do Marco Stunt trying to have a suplex contest with fucking Pentagon.
Right. It would look weird if Pentagon started lifting Marco Stunt and then was like, oh, I can't. He's too heavy.
No. And then picks up Matt Jackson and dude, the fuck?
Right. Yeah. Right. And so, I end up wishing that she would adapt her style in a way that excused her size difference a little bit better than it currently does, because I don't think that it does to the degree that it should. Not a huge problem apparently, because people fucking love Riho, but in her matches, aside from the sloppiness which is there, aside from the language barrier which is there, that's the big thing for me, is that I'm her style just doesn't logically excuse how much smaller she is than everybody else.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a problem. People know that I do not think there's a problem with small performers. I think small performers absolutely should have a place in wrestling and should absolutely be able to wrestle big guys, but their style needs to justify how much smaller they are. And I don't think hers does, usually. Baker tapped Statlander using the lockjaw for the end of the match. The match felt long for me. There were a lot of issues with it, but it was fine. It was fucking fine. Undesirable to undeniable with Justin Roberts. Justin Roberts talks briefly about being let go from WWE in 2014 and doing a bunch of odd jobs, touring with Tool, doing like arm wrestling competition announcing, things like that, before eventually finding his way back to wrestling through being the Elite. It's really short. Undesirable to undeniable with a guy like Justin Roberts is kind of difficult, but fine enough. I mean, he was working in wrestling the whole time as well. He was working for Impact and things like that. So
yeah, they can't say that. I still enjoyed this segment. This one was a little bit, but I mean, I understand how his feeling there, like how he ended up being let go of WWE was super fucked up.
Yeah, it sucked. It sucked.
Yeah.
Look that up. We're not going to go.
We're not going to, but yeah, look that up. It's real fucked up.
The Young Bucks versus Strong Hearts. This match was, of course, taped prior to Matt's quote injury end quote at the hands of Proud and Powerful. I thought it was. I thought it was pretty good, but also pretty short. Only about 8 minutes bell to bell.
That's what made this match the best one, though.
Yeah, I thought so as well. It was nice to see Lindemann and T-Hawk without Shima, too, getting their chance to sort of show their shit with the Bucks, who are going to make anyone look great. Matt pins Lindemann off of a Meltzer driver, and it was short and sweet, but, a good match, even if, it suffered from the same thing that all these matches suffer from, and that's that it's just like, okay, but why? And they still haven't answered that question, and I hope that eventually they will. There was some outrage this week from different fans about the women being put on this show. Why are they on this show and not on Dynamite, or what? Why is your women's champion on this show and not on Dynamite? I think people need to understand that.
Calm the fuck down.
First of all, like, I understand the guy did it because he wanted like cool guy woman defender points.
Yeah, he wanted to be a white knight. It wasn't working.
Those don't really exist because women do not need or want your help. But
you're also picking the wrong argument.
Sure. It's just really funny that he did that, and then the Young Bucks are on in the main event of the same show, right? Like, regardless of the fact that AEW Dark is a B show in a lot of ways because the important matches do make it to Dynamite. The big stars work on Dark all the time.
Yeah, there is no, like, the only person, like, hell, if you think about the EVPs, they've all worked a Dark match.
They've all worked on Dark.
Most of them multiple matches.
John Moxley's worked on Dark. Like, all these guys worked on Dark. So
Pentagon and Phoenix worked multiple times on Dark. It's like, this isn't a you're on the Dark match because you suck and we shit on you kind of thing. This is like, everybody works on them. It's part of it's being part of the team. You're gonna work some matches on AEW Dark. You're gonna work some matches on Dynamite. Means nothing.
Right. It's hard because the frame of reference that people have is WWE, and WWE does have a history of putting up shows based on guys who suck. Like, they might as well have called 205 Live guys who we don't want to give real TV time to.
Yeah. Sadly, yeah.
Which I don't understand why you would ever make a show. Hey, let's put all the guys we don't like on this one show, and then people will tune into that, I guess, even though we're kind of openly saying that we don't think these guys are good, right?
I mean, NXT was the same thing, man. Sure. Hey, we're signing you, but we don't think you're good enough.
Right.
So go work in front of this crowd on the college campus. That's NXT, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no argument here. The reason why there's, like you said, the important matches go on Dynamite. That's just, it is what it is. Is there a problem with the women's division not having any significant storylines? Yes, there is.
Yes, that's a problem.
They're working on it. The women's division is very shallow. There's only so much that they can do, as well as there's only so much you can really put on TV in 2 hours without making this be a jumbled mess.
Right. I agree. Let's talk about Dynamite. Happened last night, 11/20/19 from Indianapolis, Indiana. Audio mixing at the top of the show I thought was weird.
I didn't even notice it.
The commentary was leveled really low. It leveled out by the opening of the first match. It looks like they've gotten a bigger, nicer Jumbotron for the stage.
Yeah, this is the one they had at Full Gear.
Yeah, and that's really nice to see because I felt like the other one was a little small. This one makes the stage feel wider.
Yeah, I feel like the one they had before was just it was the one that they could afford at the time. Mm-hmm. And now, because they had that one since Double or Nothing, they were working on a little bit of a shoestring budget. Now they have a little bit of production money. They've been able to upgrade some stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if that's something you rent or buy.
Because you're traveling it like that, you're probably owning it.
Mm-hmm. Nick Jackson versus Phoenix was the opening match. This fucking match,
dude, man. Like, this is one of those, like, you see, like, that's a main event, man. It's a main event. This is a pay-per-view match. Like, damn, you're putting this on first?
Yeah.
That's what you call getting the crowd white hot.
I knew Phoenix had it in him, obviously, because you and I have been covering Phoenix forever. But Nick fucking floored me in this match, dude.
Nick and Matt are really good singles wrestlers. They just don't like doing it.
They just don't, right? It's like in the restaurant all the time we say there's a difference between unservable and inedible. Meaning that, like,
that's true. Very true.
There's a lot of things you don't serve just because they don't look good, right? And you end up redoing them, right? This is a classic example of just because I don't do it doesn't mean I can't do it.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's unservable. That doesn't mean, like, hey, busboy, here you go.
Right, or one of us, Jesus, right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It just you messed the little thing up.
Yeah, it just looks weird.
Yeah.
These two put on one of the best AEW singles matches I think that we've seen. It was fast. It was fluid. It was exciting. It was a real, honest, like, don't blink type match that just lit the fucking crowd up, man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
I really hope that the company takes notice and becomes kind of more agnostic with tag and singles division. Absolutely no reason why performers should only stick to one if we can have matches like this as a result of it.
I feel like a big reason for that was really that they needed to get those divisions established.
Yeah, they needed to make it clear, okay, these guys are a team, these guys are a team.
Yeah.
I understand that.
You needed the hierarchy, as well as they needed to get the champions lined up. But now that we've moved into, we have singles matches, and then last week we had two singles guys tag team up, challenging the champions. So I think we're in that point now where it's like things are much more fluid between the divisions, and you're never gonna see like Darby Allin and Kip Sabian all of a sudden becoming the tag team champions.
Right.
But you could see them in a match against SCU.
Right, and I personally love that. I love that they have their guys, and some guys are in tag teams and some guys are singles, but it's not like it is in other places where
tag team is a tag team. It's all you do.
Right, that's all you do. Or a singles guy is a singles guy. That's all you do. And if a tag team wants to just have a singles match, he has to
break up.
Yeah, he has to kick his buddy in the face or some shit, right? Like, and it's so predictable and so lame. Here, it's like there would be, if tag team fighting was like a real thing, which I don't believe that it is in the real fight world.
No, fuck no. How could that be a real thing? Hey, man, hold on. You're whipping my ass. I'm going to tag my buddy in so that he's fresh and can just stomp you in the face. No, that doesn't happen.
If it were a real thing, it would be completely preposterous that that's the only kind of fight work you can get and you can't do any other work. You can't take on any other sort of match. That'd be silly. So I love the idea that, like, these guys are going to have it. And it looks like Dark this week has a few of these matches where we're going to see sort of performers break off. I think Pentagon Jr. is fighting Trent. I guess this week on Dark, and Jack Evans is fighting Kenny Omega for the title.
Or R.I.P. Jack Evans.
The AAA Mega Championship, not the AEW title. Phoenix beat Nick with a Michinoku muscle buster that he was doing. I think it's the right call to have Phoenix going over here, being far more recently experienced in singles competition than Nick, who hadn't wrestled in 600 days or something like that.
Yeah, for people that are curious, Phoenix was the AAA Mega Champion until like a month ago.
Yeah, Kenny took it away from him. And Kenny has it now. Nick holds out his hand for a handshake at the end of this match, and Phoenix doesn't shake it and walks away, which is interesting. Maybe they're trying to build towards something there.
I think they've been building this a bit with Phoenix and Pentagon being like full-on shit heels.
Right. Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida. Woof. This match, despite itself, I thought turned out okay. Shida,
because of Shida.
God bless her heart, did her absolute best to pull a good match out of Baker. And I think that she did that, but she never managed to make it seem like any of the good things about this match were Baker's doing. Quite the opposite. Shida would take control, and the match would light up a little bit, and then Baker would take the offense, and suddenly it would kind of suck again. And the crowd even started chanting, "She's a dentist" at one point. The meaning of which is unknown, but they weren't chanting "She's a wrestler," so take that how you will.
That's kind of how I took it. Is like it's very you want this so bad to be your day job, but you are not putting the work in.
And they could have been chanting it for any reason. I think that's kind of a deeply clever and scathing thing to chant at somebody if you think they suck, is like, you're a dentist, not a wrestler, right? But for whatever reason, they started chanting "She's a dentist," and that's what I took it to mean. Now, that might not be what they meant. But,
I mean, that's kind of the thing, though, is like, it's Britt Baker wants to be a wrestler, but she's not really putting the work in.
She did hit Baker with
Shida.
Shida hit Baker in the nose pretty hard, which caused bleeding. Shida actually pulled the upset here and pinned Britt Baker off of a running knee, which makes Shida the new #1 contender according to commentary. So that's exciting that they're moving Shida up. I really, Shida. She'd tried her fucking best, man. And I don't want to shit all over Britt Baker because, but she's...
Do you want me to?
And you can be like, oh, she's only been in the business 3 years. It's like, yeah, but MJF's only been in the business like that long, and he's not like a terrible wrestler. Britt's got the look, man. And she's an okay promo, but she's not... Her ring work, every time I see her in the ring... I sort of see more and more of the strings with her, and I'm like, oh man, it's weird because she's sloppy, but she's slow, and she'll go for like a sling blade, and it looks like she's not getting enough momentum or moving fast enough to really make the move work, and
it is very strange. And like I said this in Discord yesterday, but like, she will be the first one that would bounce to WWE.
I think that would be a good place for her because I think that division will hide her issues a lot more, and they're a lot more like, if you have a good look, you can kind of do well over there. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, she's got the look. Her boyfriend's over there already. I feel like one of the reasons why she's in AEW is it's twofold. Yes, all of the guys are still very good friends with Adam Cole. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, and this is my thought on Britt's mindset, is she needed a way to get her name out there to make WWE notice her, so that she could go be in WWE.
I think the bigger factor for her was just that she wouldn't have to stop doing dentistry.
Probably, yeah, but
that she could continue to practice. I think this is the only company that's going to allow her to do that. So I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't go to WWE for that reason, because she'd be kind of stupid to throw away being a practicing dentist in order to make less money and on a career where she can't do it as long as she would if she just stayed in dentistry. Even if she really likes doing it, it would be one thing if she was fantastically talented at it and had had the opportunity to be like super good at it up at the top, but she's not there, and I don't think she's ever really going to be. So she'd be pretty foolish to throw that away to stop being a dentist.
She would have to stop being a dentist and like put a lot of effort and work into doing this.
Yeah. And you know, I've been the one who's been a defender of her in the past when you've said those things, but the more matches I see from her, the more I'm like, wow, she really is markedly not as good as most of the other women she's working with here.
Yeah, and it's becoming more obvious with each match, especially when you saw the match that Sheeta had either last week or the week before that was absolutely amazing. Yeah,
with Big Swole.
Yeah.
She had a match with Big Swole that was great. And then she has a match with Britt Baker, and it's like half of it's good.
Yeah, and it's just like, what happened? It's very similar to the Kip Sabian thing. You know, me and you were like really shitting all over Sammy Guevara with the first match, and turns out wasn't Sammy Guevara.
Right, it wasn't. You want to talk about that bizarre Dark Order infomercial?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. The whole first part of that is like, as it started, I'm like, huh, that looks really, really familiar. And then when he sat down on the train, I knew immediately, oh, he's riding MARTA. That was at Lindbergh Station. Holy shit, they filmed all this in Atlanta. Why would they get on MARTA?
Just run down the street and do it.
That's basically like a lot of Darby's promos are in Atlanta. All the Wardlow stuff is. It's like, okay, Cody's bored, guys.
Well, isn't it like fucking free to shoot like anything in Atlanta or some shit like that?
Fuck no.
Oh, I was under the impression that you got like super big tax write-offs for writing you get shooting stuff in Atlanta.
You do get big tax write-offs, but it's like a gray area now. Our governor's kind of a dumb fuck, but
it was for a long. That's why like everything was shot in Georgia for like fucking 10 years.
That's why Marvel was here, is because that was exactly it. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff, a lot of tax breaks and stuff, but how the last few years have gone, not so much.
Yeah, now it's just that Cody's headquarters is in.
It's because Cody lives here, so he's like,
right.
Hey, you want to come hang out for a weekend? We can shoot some stuff. And they're like, okay.
Yeah. Hey, we'll pay you to come down and shoot this stuff.
Yeah. And you can come hang out with me.
The commercial, though, kind of an interesting take on the Dark Order. It seems kind of incongruous with what they've been doing, but I thought it was the first time that I was like, oh man, I fucking love the Dark Order now. So it's working, even if I think it's kind of a weird turn for them. And I'll have to see where it goes from here.
If we're going weird with this shit, I'm down for it.
Right.
Let's do this shit, because I like this kind of stuff better than the dumb things they were doing.
Right. The Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal. It's funny, JR called this the Dime a Dozen Battle Royal more than once, and he wasn't trying to be mean. He was just making mistakes, which is pretty hilarious. The diamond ring that they're fighting for supposedly cost $43,000.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You saw that ring, didn't you?
Yeah, it was like a Super Bowl ring. A big fucking ring.
Yeah, those are expensive as hell.
Yeah. The participants in this 12-man battle royale were Kip Sabian, Hangman Page, Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, Jungle Boy, Marco Stunt, Joey Janela, Jimmy Havoc, MJF, Pentagon Jr., Sonny Kiss, and Mr. Ass. Once all the men got in the ring, Phoenix came down to ringside. The bell rang. Phoenix took off his mask and revealed that he was Christopher Daniels all along. And then Chuck used the distraction to toss out Penta over the top rope, making him the first out.
He is dead to me.
Which is just as well, because he wears gloves, so how is he going to put a ring on, you know?
He could wear it around his neck like a trophy. Yeah, I think this was more about just establishing Pentagon for the Christopher Daniels feud, and I'm really looking forward to that match.
Well, it's they had Sean Spears come out and attack Joey Janela too. So like some of these guys they put in here just to have a moment where they could remind you of what's going on with them.
To build, yeah,
you know what I mean?
Further the feuds. That's
right.
That's how you do wrestling.
The Battle Royale was actually really fantastic. Probably my favorite Battle Royale that they've done. I actually think being small was an asset to this thing. Chuck Taylor got stapled in the dick. That was pretty funny.
Fucking
Sean
Jimmy
Spears...
Havoc pulled a staple gun out and hit everyone in the ring with a staple.
Joey again. Sean Spears took out Joey Janela. Cassidy just chilled out for almost the entire match.
Just fucking laid down and just chilling on the ropes. Like, okay,
nobody touched him.
Because they're all afraid of him, man. It's like we talked about last week, man. It says something when Santana and Ortiz are fucking afraid of Orange Cassidy.
The finish comes when MJF does his old standby exit under the bottom rope and hide technique.
You left out all the parts with Mr. Ass, who had a wonderful showing.
Yeah, I left out all the parts with Mr. Ass. Yes, I sure did.
And you know, he was about to start twerking. That would have been great. MJF.
Oh yes, and then MJF threw out. I keep wanting to say X-Delicious, Sunny Kiss.
And then Orange Cassidy was making his move, and MJF fucked that up, pissed him off again, and like you heard him like that was two, and was about to fuck MJF up. Yeah, dude, Billy Gunn had a good showing, man. That was the best I've seen him work in a long, long time.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that they really do that feud with Wardlow. That'd be dope.
I think he's useful for about what he did here. I don't want to see Mr. Ass on my television every week at all, personally.
No, but it would be a good match to put Wardlow in to make him look like a goddamn monster.
False ending when Hangman and Jungle Boy think that they're going to get to fight for the ring next week, and then MJF pops out and drops Jungle Boy on the outside, which means the winners are MJF and Adam Page. And the heat when this happens and the resulting pull apart that happened in the ring was amazing. Like, these two look like they wanted to beat the shit out of each other. I think it's going to be an awesome match next week. MJF had to hold back Wardlow from attacking Hangman Page, and I love that that Wardlow is like this dog that MJF has ready to just attack anybody. Let's talk about Jericho, because the next bit that got run over by the picture-in-picture commercial break was uploaded to Jericho's YouTube channel this past morning.
But the beautiful thing about this is, even though you had no audio, it still worked.
You could tell what it was. I mean, it was just like when he won the title. Like, it's just him walking down a hallway full of people and like making fun of each person.
Yeah, right? But like it's shit like that, like where you don't have to have audio and the bit still gets over and still works. That says you're doing something right. Yeah,
my favorite part, he walked in on Brandon Cutler and he walked in on Brandon Cutler and Marco Stunt and they were looking at Brandon Cutler's camera and Jericho was like, "Hey, why are you filming this 10-year-old boy with his shirt off?"
Dude, you're going to jail.
Next, La Champion comes out to the ring. He, with help from my favorite wrestler, Jake Hager, apologizes for his conduct after losing to Scorpio Sky last week. He then announces that he will be having a Thanksgiving thank you celebration next week in Chicago, wherein Jericho will be inviting guests out to the ring to thank him alongside games, clowns, balloons, and more. He's not really sure. Aquarium, he did say an aquarium. Jericho bids Indianapolis an adieu, And that's when Sky and SCU appear. Sky cuts a super comfortable, just great promo. Looked like a star. The bit about Melanie Parsons, his high school crush,
Dude,
who called him up, right? And then Jericho was like, what was it? I've seen her and she's gained a lot of weight since high school. And Scorpio Sky's like, hey, I like it. I
like big butts,
it.
and I cannot lie.
Right,
yeah,
right.
there was that. The whole promo was amazing between the two of them.
Right, the Jericho saying, "I think it's cuter than Baby Yoda."
Yeah, that was money. The whole thing where he was using Jake to say one word. It's a really big callback. That's a great thing. It's good that they only let Jake Hager speak 4 words because, reasons.
Right.
But the whole thing was awesome, and I'm down for all of this. The especially with what ended up happening afterwards. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
That Jericho's so fucking dumb that he was able to be reverse psychology into, oh man, I don't want a title match. Oh, you're gonna get one. All right.
Yeah. So they do this promo through it. Sky and his SCU brothers goad stupid Jericho into putting his title on the line next week, and I fucking love that Jericho is part of his character is that he's easily manipulated because he's dumb. I think
almost as if it were real life.
Right.
Because
very
he
few
likes UFOs.
I think very few performers would be willing to have that be what happens. Have the crux of it be like, oh yeah, no, but then my character says you're gonna get a title match because I'm an idiot.
Because I said so.
Right, because I'm stupid. I think it's really, really cool that was the answer for them. And the thing about Baby Yoda or whatever, man, that's just one of those things, man, where I'm like, oh man, I love that the performers are writing the promos, because it's not a bunch of TV guys who only have fucking time to pay attention to what they have to write next week or whatever. No, these performers are just ingesting culture the same way that we ingest culture all the time, and then are able to just drop what they want into the promos.
Yeah.
And it makes everything feel more real. It makes them feel like they exist in this world instead of this canned shit that doesn't reference anything else. Instead, Jericho drops this reference that is literally like a week old.
Yeah,
if that.
Because I'm sure he, over the weekend, watched the 2 episodes of The Mandalorian and was like, hey,
Right.
That's cool. Oh, yeah, flipping through Twitter, this is on fire. I'm going to talk about that.
Right. Yeah.
That's all you
I
need.
think that's awesome. I think that's a great thing that AEW is able to do. Sky promises to turn Le Champion into Le Bitch. And that's when the Inner Circle attacks. Nakazawa and Brandon Cutler come out to help and don't help at all. They get their asses kicked. And then Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy come down and try to make the save, but all of them get overpowered. And the Inner Circle only leaves when Luchasaurus shows up. There's a moment when Luchasaurus and Jake Hager stare each other down. Hager throws his watch into the crowd and then decides not to fight, which was weird.
Yeah, that was, but it's fine.
Next, Peter Avalon says he's going to turn Luchasaurus into motor oil and then gets fucking squashed by Luchasaurus in seconds. There's really not worth saying much more there. It was just to make Luchasaurus beat the shit out of somebody.
To say on that, go on to YouTube and watch the BBC Earth fake-ass Luchasaurus documentary that AEW put out.
I thought that was
fucking amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that one, and there was one with Mox this week too. There's a bunch of stuff that I'm like, huh.
MJF had one, came out today.
Yeah, why is this not BTE or rolled into dark somehow? Instead, it's like these little clips that end up on social media. It's like, yo, this stuff is like way better than some of the stuff we're getting on what one would consider official products. So it's just strange to me, the sort of misallocation of
time
content. Really. Private Party versus Santana and Ortiz was next. The match starts with a nice tribute by both teams to Matt Travis, an HOG performer who was a friend of both teams and was struck by an illegally turning dump truck on his bicycle and passed away on November 9th.
New York's a hell of a place, man.
R.I.P. to him. I mean, that can happen anywhere, man, but New York especially, it happens.
Too much.
Too much. Very sad. This was an awesome tag team match, though. The only bit that bothered me a little bit was the Mark Quinn upside down thing. I don't know if people saw it. You must have, because it took up a significant portion of the match, where they were sort of trading him back and forth. I thought the idea behind using teamwork in this way was kind of cool. I would have liked to have seen it done with a submission instead of this, only because the human body doesn't fucking work that way.
I think it was cooler to show how strong they are.
Sure,
but
it
not
showed
the
how
way
strong
that,
they were, I guess.
Not the way that they did it on TV, where it's like, oh, he's going to pass out, but that they are legit strong enough to just pass him back and forth like a fucking rag doll.
Yeah, it might. Come to think of it, it might have just been commentary misunderstanding the intent.
Yes.
Because it might have been that they were trying to show how strong they are, just, right? Instead of what they were doing where, they're going to make Mark Quinn pass out, but,
it takes a lot.
Well, yeah, you got to hang upside down for a long time to pass out because of it.
Like
a long,
5 to 10 minutes, if
even
not longer.
Even then, a long fucking time, not 30 seconds. It's not everyone goes, oh, all the blood is rushing to his head or whatever. It's yeah, but
it's just
uncomfortable. It's not going to knock you out really quickly.
It's just uncomfortable for a while, and then if you sit on your head for 20 minutes, yeah, you'll pass the fuck out, but you're probably going to tip over beforehand.
This match got a lot of time, and I think it was actually better for it, where few matches are. In this company, at least, usually when they give something a lot of time, it ends up feeling like it got a lot of time. The finish comes when Santana tries to use the sock full of baseballs to attack Cassidy, but Nick Jackson runs down, disarms Santana, and then Private Party hits Santana with gin and juice and covered for the win. That's when the Inner Circle attack again. Now Dustin Rhodes comes down to even the odds, and the baby faces end up winning here. Nick Jackson, Private Party, and Dustin Rhodes, oddly enough. Kind of a weird pairing. Weird finish for all of that. What follows is a funny little promo straight from the weight bench with Kenny Omega. He takes a break from lifting a comically small amount of weight for a guy like him. He must have been
that's a comically small amount of weight for anyone over the age of 15.
Right, and you had posted in Discord, the bar itself is 50 pounds or whatever. And that's true, but
true. It's true.
He probably had 2 5-pound weights.
Yeah, he was struggling with 60 pounds. And then struggling further with 65 pounds because he told Nakazawa, oh no, I'll only put one of them on. I can only do one of them.
Just add the weight to one side.
And it's no, dude, you can't do that. Now it's you have to balance.
It's funny with Kenny Omega because he's trying to push this narrative that he's not a workout guy, but you don't look like that if you don't spend time in the gym, man. You don't look like Kenny Omega if you don't know how to do a bench press at all, right?
I'm sorry, that guy's fucking shredded.
And maybe he does more sort of practical obstacle course type stuff or whatever, but still, the idea that I am making fun of gym guys because I'm not a gym guy, it's yo, dog, you're to some extent a gym guy for sure. But whatever. I thought it was really funny that he's struggling with this weight that's just literally less than 100 pounds. So he's here to announce that he's given the opportunity to, quote, press the reset button, end quote, next week when he goes one-on-one with Pac, which will be a great match. Great to see that on TV.
Dude,
I think it'll be awesome.
That episode of Dynamite next week is fucking stacked.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. The night before Thanksgiving. It's going to be awesome. Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin, our main event for the evening. There was a neat little pre-match vignette from Darby, which again was filmed in Atlanta, you seem to think.
It was.
Do you know the venue? What venue were they at?
They were at the Masquerade.
Oh, okay. I might have known that would be where they did it.
The only reason I know is because I've seen so many pictures. I haven't personally been to the new Masquerade, but I have so many friends that go, and I've seen that angle of the stage that it's like, oh, okay, that's heaven in the Masquerade. I know that. Yeah.
I did not know who the band was.
I had no idea who the fucking band was. Dude.
He seems like he would travel outside of my circles music-wise. So.
Oh, yeah.
So the point of the vignette, I guess, is that he sort of skateboards over to this venue and then puts himself in a body bag with Mox written on it and then throws himself into the crowd. Which,
knowing where that venue is, shouldn't skateboard over there. Not a safe thing.
I feel like him and Mox had a match in NEW. When Mox had hit the indies.
I think he had that match.
And I feel like they used this body bag stuff in that match, too.
I think so, because I remember Mox had a bunch of, like, when he came out, he had a lot, what we thought were, like, what the fuck weird matches.
He had a lot of matches at NEW. NEW, for people who haven't been with AEW for a long time, NEW was one of the indies that they used to use to kind of further storylines prior to Double or Nothing.
Yeah, it was that one, and then a lot of the Georgia ones were what they would use.
Some of the Georgia ones would get it, and HOG to a certain extent also got some of them. But they used to do this thing where they would... I love that we're talking past tense as though this happened a while ago. It was just earlier this year. They used to... they'd go to these indies and they'd do like angles, and then they'd end up on BTE. Or really, the news would pick them up before they ever ended up on BTE.
Yeah, it would be on BTE and then Road 2 like 3 or 4 days later after we knew the majority of what happened. The difference being...
Right, after somebody's cell phone camera had already shot the whole thing.
But then we would get like the really good footage on BTE or Road 2, so it was like no one minded.
Right, and NEW was one of these places, and when Mox first broke from WWE, he had a couple of matches there, and I feel like he first broke from WWE, and then the first time we saw him was Double or Nothing. And then he did this row of matches for NEW where he fought Pentagon in a main event, and he fought Darby Allin in a main event. And I feel like in that Darby Allin match, although I didn't have time to pull up that match and go and scrub through it, I feel like the body bag was used there.
It probably was.
And so it's interesting to see them kind of bring in ideas that they used from sort of previous stuff into the match. And for most people, they wouldn't know, you know. But I thought that was kind of interesting, kind of cool. They do this vignette, and then he's sort of carried onto the stage by a bunch of hunky-looking white dudes, you know, like beefcakes, like bring him out and like drop him on the stage. It was kind of strange. He then rolls over and pulls himself out of the bag, skateboard in hand, and then rolls himself on the body bag to the ring. And this match just explodes as soon as Mox enters. There's a significant portion of this fight that happens in the crowd and at ringside before the bell even rings. Darby bumps his fucking ass off throughout this match, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Does not give a shit about his body.
The body bag ends up being more of a problem for Darby than for Mox, as I believe was also the case in that other match. There was a spot where Darby stepped on Moxley's fingers, and it may have dislocated one of his fingers. It may have just been acting.
No, that legit did dislocate one of Mox's fingers.
I haven't seen a news update on it, but
because it wasn't bad enough to be an injury.
Sure.
Because like if you heard Mox at the end of the match, he's like, I think I broke my fucking hand, and then he popped his finger back into place. Mm-hmm. But when he was up on the turnbuckle, you could see like one of his fingers was like really bad out of joint, but it wasn't bad enough to be like, oh, he's hurt, he's out. It's like, okay, just pop that back in.
There was an awesome moment where Mox turned and caught a coffin drop right into a rear naked choke, which was
baller,
super smooth and super badass. I was awesome. The finish came when Mox hit an avalanche paradigm shift for the win, like right close to TV time going out.
Yeah, I looked at my phone because I was looking. I was like, man, this is gonna be in soon. And it was 9:59 when they called that match. I was like, all right, damn.
I mean, they didn't have a lot of time for the main event. They went on at like 46 or something like that.
I don't think they wanted, to be honest with you, I don't think they really wanted a lot of time, but yeah,
no.
It was a little close. My experience for the last few weeks has been like when the main event starts, I look at the clock and then I spend the rest of the match just like darting my eyes back and forth between the clock and what's going on screen. But because TNT has to get AEW off the air so that they can show Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or some shit. so people are tuning in. It was Transformers again.
Oh, God. Mox yells, "Who's at the top of the food chain?" Into the camera as we go off of the air. That's the end of the episode. I thought the episode was really, really good this week. I thought a lot of the matches were fantastic. I felt like the only one that lowlighted was the women's match, but even then, like, I was there for Sheeta in a big way.
The internet is completely disagreeing with everything you're saying, but I agree. It was a solid bell-to-bell episode.
The internet didn't fucking like those matches?
No. They said, like, oh, NXT was way better this week. It's the way better product.
Oh, okay. That might be the case, because I haven't fucking watched NXT. But I thought that the episode was really, really good.
I agree as well. I thought it was a solid episode. It was good. It was bell-to-bell good.
It was the type of show I think they need to be putting on right now, where just the matches are fucking great. I find it really hard to believe that they had better matches over there than fucking Nick Jackson and fucking Phoenix.
Oh,
but,
no, of course not.
Okay.
But it's like, the way I look at it is AEW is putting out a great, consistent product.
Right.
It's 8 weeks. You haven't really seen you've seen one bad episode. And that bad one,
I don't even think there was a bad episode.
It was still pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I look at everything right now. I was like, yeah, it was all right, that one episode, but it was also like past 7 have also been pretty damn good. So
yeah, at the end of the day, like, people are gonna come back because you make a great burger every time.
But
right?
Exactly,
because...
and like this week, I thought it was a great episode. I thought it was solid, but it was just a lot of people are making a big deal out of the ratings and didn't really start talking shit until ratings came out.
Well, let's talk about the ratings. AEW Dynamite and NXT ratings November 20th, 2019. NXT beats AEW. Author is unlisted. This comes to us from tpww.net, although it comes from the ratings thing. It's just the write-up. NXT beat AEW Dynamite head-to-head for the first time this week, helped by an influx of main roster wrestlers appearing on the show for the build to Survivor Series. AEW Dynamite drew 893,000 viewers on TNT, down from last week's 957,000 viewers. NXT drew 916,000 viewers on USA, up from last week's 750,000 viewers. AEW was number 8 for the day in cable in the 18 to 49 demographic with a 0.39 rating, while NXT was number 14 with a 0.30 rating. Though NXT had more overall viewers, AEW beat NXT in every demographic except for people 50 plus years old, with NXT getting a 0.40 rating and Dynamite getting a 0.29 rating. That is the smoking gun. And
no, it's
I'm
not.
Glad...
They had a bigger number.
Okay, we're gonna go through this very as quickly as I can. All right,
dude.
The ratings. I am super glad that NXT finally got a win in the ratings, because we can get this fucking albatross off our neck about, are they going to match 83 weeks or they're the WCW numbers or whatever. No, it's over. We've had wins over here. We've had wins over here. We can fucking move forward.
Even though, to be fair, this week means fuck all.
Sure.
They had to pull out
it does.
all of the main roster
they didn't have. So here's the situation, okay? This episode of NXT, they publicized beforehand on their other shows that members of the other rosters could and probably would go to NXT. So you should tune into NXT to see who shows up there. They publicized this on their other shows, and you can fucking see it in their ratings because they got a .40 versus a .29 in the 50-plus years old demographic, which WWE is more popular with than AEW. Yeah. So you see this ratings bump, and you're like, oh, okay, the olds came out for NXT.
So, like the way I feel,
they came over from SmackDown to go and watch NXT. So they got their olds to come over, and they popped a rating, which great for them any way that they can do it. It's cool, but it's also, you're sitting there like, okay, that's kind of a victory because you didn't win by that much, and when you did, you got it by like inviting Grandpa over and shit.
Yeah, so, they had to call all the boomers.
Right.
The way I look at it is, and the way ratings that we see are not including VOD or on demand, or not on demand,
sure.
But like people taping it. I feel like a lot more people probably watched NXT live.
Right.
To see what happened because they are watching both shows. And there are quite a few fans that are watching both shows because they knew I can catch Dynamite on my TiVo. I'll just watch it later.
Right.
And I feel like that's what a lot of people did because, you know, WWE talked a big show and they're like, okay, well, I want to see it. But it's true that you popped a big number, but you really still lost a hell of a lot of numbers on those demographics, and that's the thing.
At the end of the day, and you know, I'm sure people who are fans of NXT will, if they listen to this show, will parody us for saying so. But it wasn't a fair fight. I mean, no. they pulled guys from their other rosters. That's not an NXT show. That's a WWE show.
It's the WWE show that you've been building to for this one specific pay-per-view that's this weekend that you've been talking shit about and trying to build so hard for like a month and a half now.
Right. You know, if they had won using just their roster, using their tools, then okay, that would have been a solid win that we could really say nothing about. Here it's kind of like, yeah, you won, but did you win, or did Ricochet wrestling in your main event win? And did Cesaro and Nakamura showing up at the end win? You know, like, are people tuning in for NXT, or are they tuning in to see what WWE stars will come down and do on NXT?
Pretty much.
And especially with them publicizing it beforehand. I felt for a long time with what they were doing with NXT that they were trying to build that NXT could be exciting and that anything could happen in NXT.
And then they went and have to publicize it so hard.
Yeah, once they start publicizing that people are going to come down there, then it's just like, oh, no, you just have no faith in your stars. So you're just going to bring down other guys, which is fine, you know. But I think it does diminish the win for them, unfortunately, that they got to win. But they got to win on kind of a down week for AEW, and they got to win by basically
cheating,
pulling in stars from other shows to come and do it.
Yeah, and the way I look at it is, it's kind of like, you know, Barry Bonds won the home run record. He had to take a lot of steroids, and he corked his bat. So, is it really a win?
Yeah. But regardless, congratulations to NXT. I'm glad that it happened because now we can just report on ratings without it being like streak. And the streak was fun. You know, it was nice to say, hey, we're beating them every week, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's like, can we stop being distracted by that?
It's going to start again in like 3 weeks.
Sure.
With either way it goes, if WWE wins again next week, or if AEW wins like the next 2 weeks, it's going to be like, oh, well, it's back on. I'm like, no, just stop.
Yeah. So I guess
watch the fucking show, man. That's the thing. If you want to watch NXT, watch NXT. If you want to watch AEW, watch AEW. If you want to watch both, cool. I'm glad you have more time than I do. More power to you.
Good Lord. Not more time, just more patience. I try to watch NXT.
More, you clearly have more free time than I do. Sorry, I'm not trying to be mean. Like, I'm proud of you. If you have time to watch both, go for it, man. I don't got that kind of time.
Yeah. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite. Twitter @Seeing the Elite. But if you really want to be part of the crew, join our awesome community from all over the world. tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. That's our crew. Those are our people. tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. Get an invite to our Discord server. Once again, if you want to become one of our best friends, one of our inner circle, head to patreon.com/Seeing the Elite and subscribe to the boys. Thank you so much for all that have watched the show live. And thanks to our patrons, Alejandro Diaz, Bill Laviolette, Chai Latte, Chris Genro, Ale Avoth, Keith Kazulno, Mikael, Merman, and Peter. You guys are our champions for this podcast, and we thank you so much for your contribution, helping us make this show the absolute best it can be. Anything else for these people before we go, Jonathan?
Go buy some t-shirts, my guys.
Oh, yes. 25% off for the next week at ProWrestlingTees.com, AEW shop.
ShopAEW.com.
Yes. It's not a discount. The discounts are different across all of Pro Wrestling Tees, but ShopAEW.com is at least 25%. Some stuff is deeper than that.
And we mean like the whole Shop AEW store is 25% off. I mean, like, so if you want one of those, like the hoodies, this is the time to buy one of those hoodies.
Yes. And the hoodie's nice.
Yeah.
The hoodie's real nice.
And they also released a bunch of sweet pins, and my wallet hates me.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week for another episode of Seeing the Elite, an AEW podcast. Until then, go out and change the world.